Hello, everybody, and welcome to Forever Sports. Yesterday, Rassie Erasmus named his squad for the end of year tour, and a very, very interesting squad in itself. And I think if we start to really break down the squad, it definitely gives a bit of an indication as to where the squad currently is, and more importantly, maybe what it's starting to look like for the 2027 World Cup. There are players that are definitely being phased out, for example. We've just seen that with the amount that they've played recently. Some of them not making this squad, for example. We're also seeing players in very specific positions being called up. So you can definitely see where we're trying to establish that depth. And even, for example, the standby list, I think gives you a little bit of an indication of the pecking order currently within the box. And Rassie Erasmus said that he has very much picked this squad to be a squad. They're treating Ireland and France as Rugby World Cup playoff games, absolutely must win at all costs type of sort of situation. So in those games, we are going to see, in theory, what we would see if you were to play a World Cup final against either of these two teams like tomorrow, in the conditions and the likes of that. So it is a very, very important tour for Rassie and his coaching staff. And I don't think they're taking anything lightly, which very much is, shown in the squad that they have picked itself. Before we get into it, please do smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. Let's take a look, shall we? And very interesting calls in terms of Ben Jason Dixon being called up, as well as Zachary Porthen and Johan Grobelaar, as well as Jean Klein. Those sort of players have not yet featured so far for the box this year. Jean Klein only due to injury. The other three have not been called up at all. And those call-ups in themselves are very significant. Let's start with Ben Jason Dixon. We know that the number 7 jersey for the box is a slight cause for concern with regards to the options there. There is limited options, if we're going to be brutally honest. We've got a Peter Steph Toy, obviously. They've tried out Vincent Chituka. You've seen a Franco Mostert play there as well. But we haven't got sort of, that next in line. Now, Ben Jason Dixon is a player that was tried last year, but it didn't really work. I don't think he had particularly good games. It's very highly rated by the box, evident by this recall. But I think that they're still looking for the number 7 second jersey option, really. They've got Vincent Tuka on the standby list, so he's definitely an option. Now they're having a look at Ben Jason Dixon. Next, Jan Grobelaar. I think Marnus van der Merwe is very hard done by not being in the squad. I think that he's got so much to potentially add. Was very good over the weekend against the Lions. And I really like him. I didn't think he got that much opportunity. He doesn't make the standby list. Bongi Manami makes the standby list, which I think maybe shows that Marnus van der Merwe is maybe not as high in the pecking order, but also given the fact that 2 tests fall outside of the test window, he won't be available for those players. So they've gone with Jan Grobelaar, who is available for all 5 tests potentially. And I think what we've seen now is Jan Hendrik Wessels is become, the second choice at the end of the day. You've got Malcolm Marx, Jan Hendrik Wessels. Now they're looking at Johan Grobelaar, where I think if Marnus van der Merwe played for the likes of the Lions and was available, they might have taken him. But the reality is they probably said Marnus van der Merwe was probably going to play against Japan, Wales, potentially Italy. He's actually only available for one of those games. Therefore, there's not much point in taking him. And instead, they can give Johan Grobelaar a go. You then look at Jean Klein, and I think that, again, we're looking at options at number 4. And I don't think we have that many Ebenezer backups that we're really happy with. Jean Klein very much seems to be, for me, the second choice number 4. If Sal Murat was fit, then he becomes an option. He is on the standby list, for example, as he sort of comes back from injury. But we very much want to see a second option. And looking at that 6-2 split, we've always deployed that ideally with 4 locks. The other interesting selection is obviously Zachary Porthen. Now, he's been called up despite Asenate and Tlabakanya being available, despite Netley Verscher being back from injury, and Vincent Koch being available. This gives you an indication, especially given the fact that we've seen Netley Verscher, as well as Asenate and Tlabakanya, as well as Thomas du Toit return to the fold. Tight head is a problem area for the box, and him being called up shows that they are really looking to try and increase their prop stocks. There's no Trevor Nyakane. There's no Frans Beherber on this tour. There's no Asenate and Tlabakanya on this tour. There's no Vincent Koch on this tour. There's no Netley Verscher on this tour. Those are all 5 options that we would have expected to have been there ahead of a Zachary Porthen. But again, it goes to show that they've seen something there and they say, right, we need to give him the exposure because he might become a genuine option, depending on what, for example, happens with Asanate and Tlhabakanye's hearing at the end of the year. I also think that it's very significant that the likes of Nevin Lewis is still not making the squad. Even as João Augustus is still not making a squad. Again, João Augustus probably, could have been picked had he been available for more games. If he could have played Japan as well as Wales, then that might have been an easier option for them to potentially sort of pick. But given the fact that it is outside the test windows, or at least one of them is outside the test windows, that becomes a problem for the Boks with regards to their selections. If we look at the backline players, I don't think there's actually any surprises here, to be honest. It is very much, for me, the strongest backs that are currently available. Obviously, Rassie, who is injured, but this is, our strongest set of backs. You look at the scrum halves, for example. Kobus Ryan's been playing some great rugby. Grant Williams has been playing some big rugby. No Faf de Klerk, but having Morne van den Berg shows that there is a shift towards saying that they see Morne van den Berg as the future. Much like they don't see Vincent Koch as an option anymore. They don't see Bongi Mbonambi clearly as number 2 anymore. They're not seeing Willie Leroux as an option anymore. We've only taken one out and out 15. Morne van den Berg is being backed in the squad. And I think that means that he's on the fast track right now for the 2027 World Cup squad. All three of our fly halves are going. If you look at wings, for example, Noma Pimpy, but Edward van der Merwe back in the mix. Fullbacks, only one out-and-out fullback in the form of Damian Willemse. Are we going to see Sasha playing a bit more at fullback, for example? Could we be seeing Cheslin Colby playing at fullback? Could we be seeing Edward van der Merwe playing at fullback? Ethan Hooker, has been included because of this historic rise. So I think it's a very strong squad, but I think it is a squad reflective of where we are at the moment. So it shows you that the likes of, an Evan Roos, a Bongi Mbonambi, Vincent Stuka, Maximo Pimpy, Vincent, sort of Salmarat, they very much still fringe players at the moment. I think Asanate and Tlhabakanye wouldn't be a fringe player if he didn't have the whole hearing around him. But apart from that, all those players on the standby list are very much on the fringes now, and they need to really step things up if they are going to get a chance to make that World Cup squad in 2027. I think we are seeing the end of Mapimp. We are seeing the end of Lakanya, for example, potentially, Bongi Mbonambi. They're available if needed, but the fact that they're not going, I think, does start to show that we are quite close to what could potentially be a 33-man squad. Obviously, you've got lots of injuries to add back in there, like an Apelele Fassi, like a Frans Malherbe, for example. There's plenty of players who can come back to the mix, like Cameron Harnicolm and Albert Lowe, all not back yet. But we are starting to see a bit of a core start to really present itself. And I think that in itself is very, very interesting. So let me know what you think of the squad down in the comments below, as well as what you think this means for Willie Leroux, Faf de Klerk, Vincent Koch, Bongi Mbonambi, for example, your Evan Roosters, your Vincent Stukas. What does it mean for them moving forward? Where do you think they stand in the pecking order? Let me know it in the comments below. Smash a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Steve. I'll chat to you soon.